God bless you and welcome back to Heart Ministry Network and our special edition of the Extraordinary People broadcast. Now, you know who the lady is now, who is joining me on set. Oh, man, I'm telling you, Leslie Jean Marie has been a tremendous blessing to me personally, and I'm sure she is to you. So, this is actually part two of our program regarding the gift of life donor and organ tissue. So again, say good afternoon to our audience, Leslie.
Good afternoon, everyone. And again, Pastor Brenda, thank you for having me today. Again, just being able to uh, be on your platform, I'm just very grateful. So thank you.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you so much. And before we go to our questions, I wanted to read Leslie's bio. And this is just, she just had to really compress this because she's got a lot going on. But it reads Leslie has over 25 years of experience in the social and health services world. At the Gift of Life Donor Program, Leslie works in the Community Relation Department as a multicultural outreach coordinator with focus on the African American and faith-based communities. She serves as a board member to Ask Lupus Advisory Committee to Intergenerational Community Alliance and Programs Incorporated and is an active member of the Association of Multicultural Affairs and Transplantation. That's a mouthful. One more sentence. Leslie is a proud graduate of Douglas College at Rutgers University in New Brunswick, where she received her undergraduate degree in sociology and certification in criminology. Whew, that's a lot going on. Look, oh my. And I love that even your background is so diversified, and diversity
Yes.
is a big part of this, right? So thank you. Thank you for allowing us to share that. Now, this is your first time we are talking about the Gift of Life Donor Program. And Leslie has been so gracious to be with us. And she did allow us some questions last time, and we're going to continue in that. So thank you, Leslie. Now, my first
Absolutely.
question, and my first question is, how do you connect with the community?
So education is so important when you are addressing the community,
Mhm.
particularly when it comes to organ and tissue donation. Folks in the community have concerns. And
Yes,
the
yes.
way we do this is that we actively partner with houses of worship and trusted
Hmm.
organizations to provide the information. And the fact based information is so important. Using a platform or having a platform or partnership with those who are already trusted in a community is
Hmm.
essential because your listeners, your viewers, for example, Pastor Brenda, I would never be able to connect with without your partnership. So this is
Mm.
how we embed ourselves in the community to have these, very fluid, authentic conversations,
Yes.
particularly about this topic that is organ and tissue donation.
Yeah. Thank you. And thank you for that. And the thing is, I guess, with you, Leslie, it's just evident that you're passionate about it. And again, there has been no question that I asked you that you were like, no, we can't answer that. You answer any question that I have, and I was so grateful for that. And so, we're just coming. Well, we're in the pandemic, almost out of it. We keep going a little back and forth, based on the variants. But
Yes.
how has the pandemic impacted the donor program?
Yes. So initially, when we reached our highest peak, well, the beginning of it, say April, so
Mm-hmm.
April of
Mm-hmm.
2020, for a couple of months, there was a standstill, if you will, a standstill.
Mm-hmm.
However, one thing that everyone knows is that you know trauma happens every day. So
Yeah.
there was a slight slowing of transplant surgeries happening. However, it quickly picked up again. I would say June, July of last year. Speaking of the pandemic, there are two things I like to say as it relates to COVID. One is that if someone should pass away due to COVID, their organs would not be viable for transplantation. That's one. The
Okay.
other thing is, and I'm sure we've all heard this, some of the major side effects for folks who have suffered from COVID 19 is that they will need lungs. So there has
Mm,
been some lung transplants happening throughout the nation due to COVID 19. So organ donation, we really do play a part in the dynamics of what's going on in the world. You know,
yeah.
another great thing, and it's great in the sense of what we have done for the community during the pandemic. You know, we have a
Mhm.
lot of PPE for the hospitals that we donated during that time. We donated a lot of protective personal equipment to the hospitals during the highest peak of the pandemic. We also made
Wow.
sure that we gave back to the community. If you remember, Pastor Brenda, you know, a lot of people were not eating. There were a lot of people who
Yeah.
needed food. So we
Hmm.
provided a lot of opportunities in the community where we partnered with community members and churches to do what we call community give back. We appreciate our community and we wanted to be out there and let folks know that we are part of the community. So the pandemic has both affected and affected us, but you know, for the most part, it has been something that we know now is not going away, but we as an organization know how to deal with it and what we need to do and what part we need to play.
Wow. And I did not know, Leslie, that you all were part of that. Um,
Yes.
so thank you for sharing that. That it's not just. It's good to know that when a organization comes into the community, it's not just for, like you say, for procurement. It's to get to know the residents and to get to know the need. So that's beautiful
Yes.
that you all you came together with that effort. So thank you
Mhm.
for sharing that. Um,
Oh, sure.
Now, there was another question that was always on our minds, and that was, what would disqualify someone from being an organ donor?
Yes. So there's not many things, and let me just say this. To become a registered organ donor is one thing.
Hmm.
Anyone can
Right.
register to become an organ donor. Typically, to register to become an organ donor, you have to be, 18.
Hmm.
Um,
Okay.
there are some places in our country where you could be 17, depending on your driver's license,
Right.
rules
Okay.
and permission from parents. But typically, we
Hmm.
say 18. You can register to become an organ donor. Now, what disqualifies someone from donating their organs if they happen to be an organ donor is
Hmm.
long term cancer. So, if the cancer is spreading, then your organs wouldn't be
Okay.
viable.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
uh, AIDS, and now COVID.
Okay.
So
Okay.
those are the three primary health related issues that would disqualify someone from actually becoming an organ donor.
Just because they're an organ donor does not qualify them to donate their organs, basically.
Right.
Right.
So if you're a
Hmm.
registered organ donor, that's one thing. And I always
Hmm.
say from a public education point, thank you, right? Because that's
Hmm.
that's
Yeah.
the that's the part that matters the most, that you are a registered organ donor, right?
Hmm.
But the
Hmm.
reality is most people don't pass in a way that makes them a viable donor, right? And the
Okay.
other reality is only 1 to 2% of organs that are procured are actually
Hmm.
transplantable. And I think a lot of people don't
Wow.
understand that. So, for
Yes. Yeah.
example, a clear way of talking about that is that I will use myself, and I always use myself for an example, if
Mm-hmm.
I should pass in a way that is permissible for organ donation and I'm an organ donor,
Mm-hmm.
and if they are procuring my organs, guess what, Pastor Brenda? My organs may not be in the best of shape for procuring to transplant. And that's what people also
Okay.
need to understand. The organs
Yeah.
have to be
Yeah.
healthy, which brings me to another point, particularly in our
Mm-hmm.
community, is that we have to take care of ourselves. We have
Yeah.
to take care of
Yeah.
ourselves to prevent some of these diseases that are preventable, like
Mm-hmm.
diabetes and high
Mm-hmm.
blood pressure. And
Right.
ultimately, as for this platform, if I am a registered organ donor, I owe it to whoever I gift my organs to, whoever that decision is made
Yeah.
on. I
Mm-hmm.
owe it to them to keep my organs healthy so they can live their lives. You think about it in a
Yeah.
broader sense.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Then that's good. That's something that you have to be conscious about. You know,
Yes.
if this is what I want to do and gift this to someone else, I have to take care of my body, right?
Yes.
And one of the things I think we were talking about, we don't like to talk about end of death or end of life.
No. No.
Having that conversation as, with the wills and, who gets what, we don't like to have that conversation. And I would just say for myself, anything sad, I have to really, work work through. But those conversations need to be had. And I don't think it's still not a conversation that's widely expressed.
No, it's, in our community, we have been taught, right,
Mm-hmm.
that my health is none of your business, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
In my
if
house.
you
Yeah.
if you
Whatever goes
were
on. Yeah.
if you were to ask, say, if I were to ask my grandmother something about her health, she would be like, "That's none of your
Mhm.
business." First of all, I wouldn't
Right.
even
Right.
fix my mouth to ask her,
Right.
right?
Yes. Right.
But to have the conversation about health and what do you want, like an advanced directive of what you want done for your life, those are topics that those are learned behaviors. We've learned that from a long time ago, that
Yeah.
you keep out of grown folks'
Yeah.
business, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
especially when you talk about health, we say it's none of your business. So we have to get out of that learned behavior and really be able to have these discussions, at dinner,
Yeah.
in the car, on a walk,
Mm-hmm.
because
Yeah. Yeah.
this needs to happen. This needs to happen. And deciding to be a registered organ donor is just another part of your wishes.
Yeah.
But if you don't have the
Yeah.
conversation with your loved ones, then you know it could be an
Yeah.
issue.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's good. So prayerfully by these conversations, people are going to start to feel comfortable, having those
Yes.
conversations. And
Yes.
so the other part of this I thought was very fascinating. When we talk about tissue
Mhm.
donation, right? So,
Yes.
what are some ways that tissue donation helps in the healing process to recipients? I'd never even thought
Yes.
about this part until we had an incident. But how does tissue donation help?
So for tissue, for example, for skin,
Mm-hmm.
skin
Mm-hmm.
helps with burn victims. Skin helps with, for example, skin cancer.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Also for breast cancer survivors who may have reconstruction and use, donated skin. Also, when we talk
Wow.
about tissue, we talk about certain bones that are used, bones that could be used, say, for someone's knee, maybe part of someone's spine or neck, that
Wow.
human tissue is used, as opposed
Mm-hmm.
to steel or titanium rods or anything like that. Also,
Okay.
too, when we speak about eyes, we're not speaking about the entire eye, right? We're talking about the
Mm-hmm.
cornea, which is the lens, almost like a contact lens. The
Mm-hmm.
cornea
Mm-hmm.
transplant is part of the tissue transplant, and that's to help folks who may have impaired vision for whatever reason to
Okay.
see,
Wow.
to see. So there's so many beautiful things about the body, Like you said earlier, one person can actually save 8 lives. And then one person can enhance up to 100 people's lives as far as tissue is concerned. You know, it's important for people to understand that
Mhm.
one person can do that. And it's like you said, God is something else.
Yes, he is. And I mean, that's amazing. It's amazing to think that this is what we could give someone else. Um,
Yes.
you know, but again, the conversation has to be had. There has to be a level of comfort, again, with this whole conversation. And now, I think you talked before about, let's just say a person who has donated who wants to donate their tissue, that it doesn't just happen. There are conversations that are going on, all the time until you understand what you're doing. Can you tell us about that? I know you talked about the doctors who come in. Are there social workers involved? Who else would be involved in this kind of procedure?
So the conversation is made by our transplant coordinators, our clinical team at Gift of
Mhm.
Life, or any other organ procurement organization. That conversation is led by our transplant coordinators. A lot of times, the hospital team might be involved to
Mhm.
bring it all together, but the
Okay.
actual person who makes the you know, who approaches a family is a transplant coordinator. They are the
Okay.
experts. They also act as social workers. And again, that
Mhm.
in itself, Pastor Brenda, is not a fast process. There are
Yeah.
steps to
Yeah.
it. You know, you're dealing with a family who is grieving, and that's
Yes.
why
Yeah.
it's so important that we continue to have conversations, because although I am a registered organ donor,
Mhm.
maybe my family doesn't know I'm a registered organ
The
donor.
issue. Yes.
So they could be
Yes.
taken
Okay.
aback by that. And so that's why,
Mhm.
we have these professionals and specialists who have these conversations. And
Yeah. Yeah.
it's completely sensitive, and it's an open dialogue, and
Yeah.
it could
That's
it could
important.
happen in a few hours, it could happen in a few days. The conversations
But you take the
continue.
time it's needed. That's good.
You
That's
have to.
good.
You have to.
So again, I hope this conversation is um, enlightening, and kind of dispelling a lot of the myths that we hear as it relates to, organ donating and tissue. And I understand that there is a grant that you give
Yes.
out called It's About Life Grant. Can you talk about that briefly? That's exciting.
Yes. So we have a group through our Gift of Life program called Donors Are Heroes. The
Mm,
one of the founders of Donors Are Heroes and his wife, particularly this gentleman, he received a heart, and he was so grateful. He was so grateful that he pulled all his resources together, and he got
mhm,
his friends together initially, and they began fundraising for more education throughout the community. They began fundraising. Typically in April, they have this huge event called The Party, where they
mhm,
really do um, a lot of education, but in a fun sense, to bring people together to build resources for the It's About Life grant. The It's About Life grant is geared towards clergy, house of faith, nonprofits. We work with sororities. We work with anyone who is a service oriented group that can aid us in bringing more awareness about organ and tissue donation. Like I said before, I may go out and I may engage a community, and I may be a part of the community, but I cannot do it without the champions who are out there to bring us the platform and the community that we can talk to. So the It's About Life grant actually is a grant that helps us help the community bring more awareness. It is something that is very simple to do. You fill out the application, very easy application, and you talk about how you can aid Gift of Life within your own community to talk about organ and tissue donation. And I have more information about that. I'm sure that you'll share later, Pastor Brenda. But it's a fantastic grant, and it's very easy. And the great thing about it, since I managed a grant, I would aid you, through the process, because it's my responsibility to make sure people understand what it means to be an organ and tissue donor, but it's also my responsibility to make sure I bring the community to Gift of Life and vice versa. So there is a ongoing, trusting relationship, and that the relationship is sustainable. Very important.
Wow. So, this is something I'm sure you guys would like to be a part of. There's always a program or something that you could use funding with. So this is like you said, it's an easy if you're dealing with Leslie, I'm telling you, there's a certain anointing that makes things easy. So when Leslie is talking to you and going through this process, it's easy. It's easy. Believe it. It's easy. So, let's talk, let's get the grant, because there's so many things that we could use in the community that would help our community members. So, we're going to, Leslie, all your information will be running across the screen, so they'll have it. Give her a call, and she will talk you through anything you need. And I'm here to attest to that. So thank you so much for that, Leslie. Actually, believe it or not, that's our time again. I don't know how. I don't know how this is going so quickly, and we still have things to talk about. But we're going to ask you to come back one more time. We're going to do part 3, and we're also going to bring in a donor or someone who is a recipient of an organ, and we're going to talk. His name is Tracy Woodson, and we're going to talk to him about his story and give him some space to share that. So thank you again for joining us here on Heart Ministry Network. Thank you again, Leslie. She's going to be with me when we come back again for the 3rd time. But again, this was something that we needed to do. And, we thank God we have the space to do it. So join us again next time on Heart Ministry Network when we come back with a special edition. This is a special edition of Extraordinary People broadcast, featuring certainly our new friend, Leslie Jean-Marie. And then we're going to bring back Dr. Tracy Woodson when we return. But again, join us back here on heartministrynetwork.com. You'll be glad you did. God bless you.
For more information about being an organ or tissue donor, go to donorsone.org.